In 1786, Frederick died. But Frederick's state and Frederick's dream of conquest lived on, nurtured and developed by the Prussian militarists, who regarded each war as only one campaign in an unending war for Prussian supremacy in Europe. To this end, Scharnhorst, the organizer, and Gneisenau, the strategist, established the Prussian General Staff. Von Clausewitz, the theorist, set down their gospel in his famous book, Vom Kriege, on war. Just as Prussia has been fated to be the core of Germany, so Germany will be the core of the future German Empire of the West. Clausewitz's book became the Bible of the Prussian militarists. Conquered people shall be left with nothing but their eyes to weep with. But even as the militarists were plotting, a wave of liberalism swept over Europe. Its eddies reached even Prussia. And ordinary men began to think for themselves and to demand what had long been accepted in America, England, and France, a constitution. The King of Prussia answered, "Never must a scrap of paper come between me and my subjects." A constitution, a scrap of paper. Some citizens determined on liberty went to the barricades. The machinery of the Prussian state went into action. The revolt died. The will to liberty was not strong enough within the people to defy the voice of authority. One result of which, men with a love of liberty began to leave Prussia and the other German states. In the next 30 years, 2 million of them came to find freedom in the United States alone, while their cousins, remaining behind, were molded into ruthless automatons, ready to follow blindly the will of a leader. And that leader arose. Otto von Bismarck, appointed Prime Minister of Prussia in 1862. A clever man, a shrewd man, but devoted to the Prussian dream of conquest, and a master of the Prussian method of achieving it. The great questions of the day will not be decided by resolutions of majorities, but by blood and iron, and to go with it, ruthless discipline at home. As soon as anybody can show me that it is sound policy, I shall be equally satisfied to see our troops fire at the French, the Russians, the English, or the Austrians. 2 years after Bismarck became Prime Minister, he provoked a war against Denmark. The result? Victory. Later, against Austria. Result, another victory. And 4 years later, the great test against France. An amazed world stood by as Prussia, until then a minor power, dared to challenge the strongest nation in Europe. Result, another victory. This was the moment of triumph that changed the history of the world. The Prussian dream of conquest was no longer a dream. The German princes saw the Prussian eagle soaring triumphant in the European sky. Now they clambered on the bandwagon and united under Prussian leadership to form the German Empire. And in the Hall of Mirrors in Versailles, heart of defeated France, Bismarck saw his Prussian king crowned German emperor, absolute monarch of a new empire, founded on blood, iron, and conquest. Its symbol, Victoria, emblem of victory. Not the Liberty Bell, not the Magna Carta, not Liberté, Égalité, Fraternité, not any symbol of freedom, but Victoria, the symbol of conquest. Thus, Prussia had created Germany, and the myth of Prussian superiority had become the myth of the master race. And if the Carl Schmitt of that generation had any worries about the liberties that had been denied him, they were now forgotten. In this moment of triumph, just to be a German was enough. In the newly created Reich, industry flourished as never before. The merchant fleet grew larger every day. German harbors were jammed with commerce, and German stomachs filled with beer and sausage. Germany had achieved unity, become rich. No other country threatened her. The world hoped for a peaceful, good neighbor. But the world had forgotten the Prussian tradition that Germany had inherited. A tradition not of peace and friendship, but of war and conquest.